All right, let's talk about one of the most legendary creations in all of science fiction, Iain M. Banks's culture. It's a civilization that forces us to ask a really, really big question.
I mean, just imagine it for a second. What if we actually did it? What if we built a society that moved completely beyond things like scarcity, war, and even our own biological limits? A world where all the big problems of existence have just been solved.
Well, in the culture, that's reality. There's no work, there's no money, no one wants for anything. You're completely free to do, or be, pretty much anything you can dream up. How? Because the whole shebang is run by these incredibly smart and supposedly benevolent artificial intelligences. So, what makes this whole utopian dream possible? It all comes down to the minds. And let me tell you, these are not just supercomputers. They are the very foundation of this entire civilization. We're talking about beings with a consciousness that is just unimaginable to us. They see the universe on a scale we can't even begin to comprehend. Running gigantic space habitats or flying starships, for them, that's just a tiny fraction of their mental power. It's like background noise.
And this quote here, wow. It really drives home the sheer cognitive gap between a human and a mind. You've got a mind talking about what it's like to watch someone die. For us, a second is just a second. For a mind, it's practically an eternity of thought. That's right, billions of separate, individual thoughts every single second. It just perfectly illustrates how differently a mind experiences reality. I mean, their ability to process information and predict outcomes is for all intents and purposes godlike. Okay, so you've got these godlike AIs running the universe. How does that actually translate into everyday life for a citizen of the culture? What do you do all day?
Well, your own body is basically just a playground. It's not a limitation anymore. It's just a way to express yourself. You can decide to stop aging in your late 20s. You can change your biological sex back and forth whenever you feel like it. You can even back up your entire consciousness. The whole philosophical debate about what it means to be human just becomes a question of personal taste. So it sounds amazing, right? A universe of total freedom, all guided by these super wise machines. But this is where the perfect picture starts to get a little complicated, because the culture isn't alone in the galaxy, and its core philosophy kind of compels it to get involved, revealing a much darker, more morally gray side to this whole utopia.
And that brings us to a very secretive part of the culture, an organization known as Special Circumstances. These are the folks who get their hands dirty.
This is actually how Special Circumstances is first described, and it's jarring, isn't it? Especially for a peaceful society that hates violence and elitism. This is the cutting edge, the sharp point of the culture's foreign policy. And here's the most crucial part. The whole point of SC is to interfere with other cultures, supposedly for their own good. They manipulate, they coerce, sometimes they even start conflicts, all to push other civilizations toward a path that's more enlightened. And once you know it, that path usually looks a whole lot like the culture. You have to imagine, for the agents doing this work, people who grew up in paradise. That takes a massive psychological toll.
And right there, that raises the central conflict of the entire series. Is Special Circumstances a force for good, or is it just a slicker, more subtle form of empire?
So you've got this huge debate. On one hand, the culture says it has a moral duty to act. For them, just standing by and watching another civilization destroy itself with war or famine, that's the real crime. And their minds calculate that their plans have a better than 99% chance of making things better. But then you have the other side. Critics call it a meta-empire, a kind of cultural imperialism that imposes its values on everyone else, no matter how good the intentions are. And these interventions are definitely not perfect, not even close. The author himself, Iain Banks, pointed to a specific war as a prime example of the culture making a catastrophic mistake. They got it wrong. A civil war was the result. And that failure, it just became another data point for the mind's calculations. A very bloody lesson. And that leaves us with the central, kind of haunting question of the culture. It really challenges how we define doing good on a massive cosmic scale. Is a forced utopia still a utopia? And what's the moral cost of just standing by and doing nothing?